Taking the model railway from this to this level of detail brings it to life, and here you will see how it was done on finishing touches detailing the viaduct junction area on the No Name Railway. Welcome back, and to those that have just joined, welcome. Here you can see an overview of the area we'll be dealing with. It's the top row with the photos on. I made a comprehensive list of things that I felt needed to do on this area to bring it to life. As you can see from the time it's going to take, there was a lot to do. We start on the left hand side, the tunnel. You could see right through it. Obviously going to the fiddle yard it needed to be open, but for photographic and video views it just didn't look right. So here you can see that I'm putting a structure around the entrance to the fiddle yard. You might ask why. Well, all will become clear. The last piece goes in and we have the structure in place. And what are we going to do now? A quick measure of the area to be sealed. And yes, a piece of cloth, as simple as that. It goes on, held in place, but it'll be in the way. So with a bit of Velcro added, it can be pushed up out of the way so that the view, and you'll see now, with it down, it's a lot less light coming through and looks a lot better. The next job in this area was to add additional bushes, grasses, flowers, things like that. Here you can see that I'm placing them in, and I'm not going to glue them right away. I'll be leaving them for a while, looking at camera views, and well, yes, once I'm happy and I haven't moved them around too much, which always happens, I'll be, yes, you guessed it, gluing them in place using super glue. The adhesive on the backs of these sticky things are quite good, but, well, the hoover I have for keeping all the dust down, shall we say, outweighs the stickiness. So super glue seems to help. Quite a few areas for me to add this detailing here, and it does bring the whole area back to life. Once all glued in, it's time for the hairspray. The delicate pieces on the ends of the flowers are not very sticky, so a quick spray of hairspray I should say, will enable them to hold fast. The canal area was the next scene, and here is the video I took of it with a few bushes and flowers added, and there, blatantly, how do people get round? The lock gate. That's not good. So we'll have to put a retaining wall in. Fortunately, I had a bit of spare walling that was made for something else and used and then taken apart again. I do seem to like taking things apart. Anyway, here you can see me working out the best position that the wall can go in and allow people to go round. With the area cut out, a final check. And no, I wasn't happy. There wasn't enough room. How's a horse going to get past there? So with a bit more demolition work to take place, the removal of another piece of scenery, you can see that I use polystyrene as a base. Fortunately, it's easy to remove, messy, but with a quick hoover we can get rid of all the little niggling ball bits that tend to stick to everything. Now, let's try that wall again. Yes, I'm happy with the position. The piece near my hand needs fettling a bit, and it's a bit high, so we'll remove some of the top, bring it down to a level that we need. I find swoosh slow, shallow cuts with a Stanley knife cuts through this wool stuff. The cobblestones were then introduced in place so that the people and horses have got something to walk onto. And finally, with the wall instated, the scenic area could be filled in, masking tape protecting the wall I'd just made. Here, wall painted, once a coat of varnish, matte varnish, to take out the sheen, and then the application of static grass, several layers, first base coat, then 2mm, and finally we can now put in the scenery that we were going to, which was bushes, grass tufts and flowers. Cover the areas that are just not quite looking right, but it helps bring the scenery to life. Yeah, what am I doing here? Well, I'm actually chamfering because we've moved on to the next stage, and I'm making a chimney. The chimney is going to be for the Holt building, which is used by one of the directors, so he will obviously want a fireplace in there for when he's waiting for his train to arrive. He was the landowner that instigated the railways in the first place, and consequently he wanted comfort, as these people generally do. The quarries that he owns provided a lot of the stone, so he was a win-win. Here, the introduction of the chimney into the area that's a locked waiting area for him and his privileged people to use. And, well, what's this, you say? Well, one of the videos that I enjoy watching is Station Road. This New Zealander does absolutely brilliant work, and he's recreating a station, and part of that station, and one of the first buildings he did, was a lamp hut and coal building. Now, does my hope warrant this? Well, I like making things, so I thought, yes, why not? And here you can see me scratch building using Will's plastic card and a few of their doors and bits and pieces to make this lamp hut and coal shed. With the front door area made that you can see in the foreground, the next was to do the side walls with a scrap piece of plastic card that I had. I worked out the sizes that I needed, and here you can see me marking the centre, so I can work out where the apex will be of the roof. With these side walls now complete, we can move on to making the assembled building. Here you can see that I'm trial fitting it, and I'm going to use the jig here to ensure that everything is square. Quick blast of activator on the super glue, and then we can do the other side. It's fiddly getting these lined up correctly, but it's well worth the effort, as it does look a lot better. Back into the jig to make sure it's square. Quick squirt of activator again, and we're happy. The next stage is to decide where to place it, and the obvious spot is here. We'll need to remove the wall, and it would help if the razor saw was a bit deeper, but once I knew where the other area was going to be, I could cut that. So with the wall removed, it's now to decide how far back into the landscape to move the building. A quick placement, mark it with the saw and start to cut. And with the final cuts made, we can remove all the debris and try the building to see how it is. Obviously it doesn't fit first time, it never does, but we get there in the end. And here you can see the finished building, all painted, apart from the guttering and downspouts and the doors. And well, there was no point in making a full back wall, as most of it's going to be buried, and the cost of plastic is really expensive. So, building complete, now fully painted, time for installation. Super glue again, my favourite medium, and once placed in, we can now bed it in by putting filler in to fill any of the gaps around the building so that it blends. There's nothing worse than seeing a building just sat up on the top. Buildings naturally don't do that. Finishing touches, signs, beware of the trains, fire buckets, for an obvious reason. And yes, you can actually read beware of the trains. Really good. The next area is round the signal box, and to protect the junction from trains coming through the tunnel, we needed to install a signal. The white card that you can see where I'm placing the glue now was the first position that I put the signal in, and looking through the tunnel you could not make out the signal, so obviously it was of no use. So I moved it a few inches nearer the actual points. Here you can see me applying glue to bed the signal in and blend it in. Gluing round signals is not recommended. So here you can see me trying the signal to make sure that none of the glue, and we'll place the base coat of soil around it. I'm not too worried that it's too thick here. Again, motorised signal is tried to make sure it still works. Once that had dried and been hoovered up, the next job was to put some more additional ballast. So, as they say, model railways are never finished, and I still think there's bits and pieces that I'll be doing here and then. Feel free to subscribe, it helps the channel, and if you hit the bell icon, it notifies you when the next video out. Talking of which, what's the next project? Well, it's going to be this area. I'm never happy with the signal that I put in there. It was a temporary thing, and I think it needs something. So I'm thinking of making a building and putting it where that mound of rock and soil is. So hopefully that'll be in the next video, and thanks for watching. Goodbye, and we hope to see you next time.